All right, so let's see if the audio is okay. Yeah, perfect. How's it going, everyone? I hope you all are doing great, and I hope you have an amazing start of the week. I'm Dr. Radu, and I'm back with another daily analysis. As always, I'm gonna start off with the Forex analysis. To be more exact, I'm gonna start off with Euro USD, where we have a bearish opportunity running as we speak in some drawdown, unfortunately, but it is totally fine. A valid setup nonetheless. If it will hit our stop loss, then we'll move on to the next one and we'll keep it simple. It smashed TP1 on entry number 2. It had a pretty nice reaction to our second entry, as we can see, but then we can see that price decided to reverse and go against us, but the trade is still running. We never know if it will start reversing into profit and smash our targets. All we need to do now is wait, because like I said, this was a valid setup. The reason I took it was because I saw a very aggressive break towards the downside, continuing this overall downtrend. We had a fair value gap lining up perfectly with the point of interest, and the pullback was also pretty corrective as well. And the 4-hour was also bearish on the trader graph. So like I said, a valid setup. All we need to do now is sit on our hands and see how it will play out. On odd CHF, we have a bullish opportunity. Right here, we broke structure to the upside very impulsively with this bullish leg. We have this unmitigated order block that is lining up with the area of interest. The trader graph is fully bullish, which is ideal. And the pullback so far looks very, very corrective as well, which is exactly what we want. So definitely a good looking opportunity. On EuroCAD, we have a bearish setup, a continuation of this overall downwards push with this bearish break of structure right here that took price lower and left imbalance behind. We have this unmitigated order block that is lining up perfectly with the point of interest, as well as with this bearish trader order block. The 4-hour is bearish on the trader graph, and this pullback looks very nice and corrective as well, which is great. Once again, a good looking setup that meets all of our rules. Odd NZD with a bullish opportunity, very aggressive break, fair value gap lining up with the discounted area of this bullish range, as well as with this bullish trader order block right here. The 4-hour is bullish on the trader graph, and the pullback is a very corrective one so far. Okay, so we want to see a continuation of that. USD CHF, we have a bullish setup here, a bullish shift in momentum. We swept liquidity with this fake out, and after that we broke structure to the upside with this bullish leg. We have this unmitigated order block lining up with our discounted area, and the pullback so far looks pretty chill, looks pretty corrective, which is great actually. Okay, because we all know how important it is to get a corrective pullback and not a aggressive one. On USD CAD, we have a bearish setup, very textbook bearish break of structure right here. We have a unmitigated order block lining up perfectly with the point of interest. The 4-hour is bearish on the trader graph. And now the last thing that we need to wait for is to see whether we manage to get a corrective pullback or not. On Euro AUD, we have a bullish setup. Right here, we had a very textbook bullish shift in momentum. Liquidity sweep right here, followed by this impulsive break towards the upside. We have this unmitigated order block lining up with the area of interest, and the pullback looks pretty corrective as well so far. All right, so we want to see a continuation of that. And lastly, for our Forex analysis, we have GBP CAD with a aggressive bearish break of structure, okay, that left a lot of imbalance behind. Liquidity was swept beforehand as well right here. And after the break, I was able to identify this unmitigated order block that, as we can see, is lining up perfectly with the point of interest, as well as with this bearish trader order block. The 4-hour is bearish on the trader graph, and it is safe to say that the start of the pullback looks very, very nice and corrective. So once again, we want to see a continuation of this corrective pullback towards our fire zone. And yeah, on that note, we'll end today's Forex analysis right here. As always, if there's any other questions, make sure to reach out on Discord. Now I will go over today's metals analysis, starting off with gold, where we have a textbook bearish setup. Right here we had this very impulsive bearish leg that broke structure. Before the break, we swept liquidity right here with this huge fake out towards the upside. And after the break, I was able to identify this unmitigated order block that, as we can see, is lining up perfectly with the area of interest. And lastly, we can see that the pullback is also a pretty nice and corrective one so far, which is great. And on silver, we have another bearish setup looking pretty similar, if I'm being honest. Liquidity sweep followed by a very impulsive break towards the downside. We have this fair value gap lining up with the premium area of this bearish range. And same as on gold, the start of this pullback looks pretty nice and corrective, which is exactly what we are looking for. And of course, we want to see a continuation of that, of this corrective pullback. And yeah, that's about it when it comes to the metals analysis. As always, make sure to reach out on Discord if there's any further questions. And now I will go over today's indices analysis, starting off with US 30, where we have a very textbook bullish setup, a very aggressive break towards the upside. Trader graph is fully bullish, unmitigated order block lining up perfectly with the point of interest. And now the last thing that we need to wait for is a corrective pullback. Apart from that, everything looks super on point on this setup. On SPX, we have a bearish setup. On SPX, we have a bearish shift in momentum. We can see that right here, we swept liquidity with this fake out. And immediately after that, we broke structure to the downside very, very impulsively. We have this unmitigated order block lining up with the area of interest. And to be honest, the pullback so far has been a very corrective one. It looks like price wants to head even lower. And if it does, then we might have to recalibrate and look for a new setup. And on NAS 100, we have another bearish opportunity looking pretty similar to SPX, a liquidity sweep followed by a impulsive break towards the downside, a unmitigated order block lining up with the premium area of this bearish range. And here the pullback hasn't really started. So we need to wait to see if we manage to get a corrective pullback. The bearish momentum is definitely bearish. Okay, and yeah, on that note, we'll end today's indices analysis right here. As always, if there's any further questions, make sure to reach out on Discord. And lastly, I will go over today's crypto analysis, starting off as always with Bitcoin that dropped below 60K. Okay, Bitcoin dropped below 60K, looking pretty bearish. Right here we have a continuation of this downtrend with this bearish break that took price lower and left imbalance behind. We have this fair value gap lining up with the premium area of this bearish range. We also have this bearish trader order block right here as well above the fair value gap. The 4-hour is bearish on the trader graph, and now we want to wait for a corrective pullback, because if we get a aggressive one, then the setup will become invalid. On Ethereum, we have another bearish opportunity looking pretty similar. We have a very aggressive break. On this one, we broke multiple lows, which is a great added confluence. We broke this swing low here as well. The 4-hour is bearish on the trader graph. We have this beautiful fair value gap lining up perfectly with the point of interest. Above it, we have a bearish trader order block as well. And now, of course, we need to wait for that corrective pullback. On Dogecoin, we have, what do we have on Dogecoin? On Dogecoin, we have a bearish setup. Okay, we can see we broke structure to the downside very impulsively with this bearish leg right here. We have this unmitigated order block lining up perfectly with the point of interest. Above it, once again, we have a bearish trader order block as well. and the daily and the 4 hour are both bearish on the trader graph. And lastly, the pullback has also been very corrective. So this is a plus setup, I would say. But of course, now we need to wait and see if it will go towards our entries and trigger them. On XRP, we have another bearish setup, textbook bearish break of structure, fair value gap lining up perfectly with the point of interest. Trader graph is fully bearish, okay, and pullback so far looks pretty corrective as well. I'm not gonna lie. We have these huge wicks here, which definitely shows some pressure, okay. And of course, we have this small bearish trader order block lining up with the premium area as well. And lastly, we have Solana. That is approaching our, just hit our stop loss. Okay, so I'll definitely update that. Was a valid setup though, right? We had a aggressive break, a fair value gap lining up with the point of interest, and the pullback wasn't too aggressive either. Okay, so this was definitely a valid setup, but it didn't hold, which is totally okay. There's nothing we can do about it. And apart from that, right here, I cannot see a different setup that we can mark up. So yeah, we'll wrap things up right here. This was pretty much it for today's crypto, as well as the overall daily analysis. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all on the dork side. Take care.